We had a 1,200% increase in sales using TikTok ads.
My name is Linda, and I'm a co-founder of Love and Pebble. We created Beauty Pops, a frozen facial that melts into nourishing skincare.
I started this business with my husband, and we do everything from packing orders, marketing.
Before, it was just me creating videos, but now I have over 2,000 affiliates that are working with us. If we can do it with TikTok ads, you can too.
Want to grow your business fast? Head over to getstarted.tiktok.com/TikTok ads.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
The following production is part of the We Be Geeks podcast collective.
From days long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend.
The dream that came through a million years, that lived on through all the tears.
It came here, the Fandom Nexus.
Fabulous secret powers were revealed to our host as he plugged in his microphone.
I have a podcast!
Here he is, your Spider-Pan, Jeremy.
Yes, I am back, and I know it's been a little bit of time. I meant to have something going last week. Things haven't quite worked out, and we really had the entire concept of what I was going to do for the show has completely changed from what I was planned, because I've, of course, recorded all this audio from Kansas City's Planet Comic-Con, and I'm still going to be sharing that audio, but just not this week because things kind of took a interesting turn with the passing of Val Kilmer. So Lost Boy Philip, the Kryptonian, will be joining me later to discuss some memories and fun of Val Kilmer, which I don't think we got a lot of facts necessarily about his life going in there. And then the other fun thing is going to be an interesting story. And so the Wendy Nerd, Bio Nerd,
hi,
Heather is with her little single word bits. Yes, my wife is with me because we have a fun story of something unexpected that happened to us.
Yep.
And I thought it would be fun to share it because it fits right along with the whole thing of this show. So today's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to discuss also a little bit about the announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2 and share a few thoughts on that. And I'm even going to take a drink of water. I felt a tickle in my throat. Here, oh, looky there. I got Tic Tacs on my desk. Isn't that fun? I don't know why I have Tic Tacs on my desk, but I have Tic Tacs here on my desk.
Breath?
Yeah, well, no, unless I've suddenly got smell-o-vision going on in this show, I don't think anybody cares.
Maybe for your co-hosts.
Well, but I have to keep just enough distance from you because your microphone is more sensitive than it should be, and I'll have
Sorry,
to edit
you're
later.
loud?
I can't help my voice sitting right here. Well, of course, right next to me. So yeah, I got a little bit of audio editing. But if you hear sound like I've got a little bit of echo going on, it's because the other microphone here. But we usually have some fun though when we do the show this way. There we go, and the music is done, so I can quit mindlessly jabbering and we can get on to the actual concept of the show. I mean, I pretty much use like where the music's going to just like, let's introduce what's going to be happening on the show today. And really it's just a couple of major things going on in the show. And because we've got a lot of I do want to go and mention how, like, what I've been playing, because I got to share this frustration here. So I picked up, as I've mentioned previously on the show, the collection of the first 6 Final Fantasy games in a Pixel Remastered collection. So I've been playing my way through them, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to get the Platinums on these. And so far, through 3 of them, I have earned my Platinum trophy with all the crazy stuff I had to do with, like, the Bestiary.
Hooray!
Yeah, the Bestiary, basically. The problem with that is you have to, because it's random encounters, you have to get to an area where a certain monster is going to pop up, and because you're trying to fight every enemy in the game, and you have to go to certain areas where a monster will pop up because sometimes they'll be rare. So I don't really necessarily have control over whether I get that trophy. I have to just sit in an area. I look online on where this thing is probably going to pop up, and then I run back and forth for however long it takes, hours and hours and hours running back and forth.
Days.
Until it pops up and does what I want it to do. So now we get to the fourth Final Fantasy, which in the States, that was Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo. But to Japan, and now with the Pixel remasters, it's 4. Because, here in the United States, I think we got 3, which I think Final Fantasy 6 was 3. And then they jumped, when they got to the place, and they just jumped up to 7. Like, here, let's get the numbers together. So it was later on that here in the States, we got a chance to play some of the other ones, because I guess Japan didn't think we liked these very much. And it takes getting used to it. It's taken me some time to get accustomed to turn-based combat. Although by 4, it's gotten to where there's a bit more of a timer where you get to make selections for everybody at different times, which is what I got used to with the original Final Fantasy VII. But I still prefer more of an action RPG like the remakes. But this one on 4, the bane of my trophy hunting. And I'm like, well, I don't usually trophy hunt, but these ones I usually like to get something it's within my abilities. I think I can go get it. And I don't have to rely on the computer. And I have to really think that I have the abilities to do it, like doing the Spider-Man games. Like, oh, can I beat it on hard? It's like, I bet I can. And I do. And I've got the platinums for both Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. I haven't gotten the platinum on the Miles Morales game. I probably could get it. I probably should go back and do it, though. But I sat on this thing, and it turns out, so you have a summoner in the party as one of the characters. And in order to get some of your summons, she comes with some after an incident in the story. She gets a bunch of summons she learns. But then you have certain bosses you go and fight to get summons unlocked, and there's a trophy for those. But then there's a trophy for secret summons, and these are regular boss characters that will randomly encounter at certain places. So you're trying to get those certain enemies to pop up, but then they very rarely drop the item you need that unlocks your ability to summon that particular enemy to fight on your side. And I spent hours grinding. And finally, I've got that achievement. I got the secret ones. Now I got to go finish the other stuff. But after I'm done with this, there's a whole other section. There's one room in the final dungeon area where these like bland princesses or whatever, they're like basically like jellies, whatever. They're evil looking jello molds. They've popped up in other Final Fantasy games as well. But I have to keep grinding that area now when I get there to get one of them to drop this thing called a pink tail. Then I have to leave the final dungeon to go back to a completely other area to give it to another guy so he'll give me the best armor in the game. And that's an achievement and a trophy as well. So, oh my goodness. If I look, when I start playing 5, if it's this ridiculous, I may not do it. But I'm probably going to pause before I do 5 because this week, on PlayStation, all you Xbox owners, computer players already probably have this. Indiana Jones and the Circle of what is it? Something about a circle. The Great Circle, I think it is.
I don't know.
But it's a first-person Indiana Jones game, and I believe it's Troy Baker who got to play Indiana Jones, and even Harrison Ford told him he did a good job. I mean, and I've seen like little clips. The way his face, he didn't think he could do it. And he's just trying to use his own voice to kind of sound enough Indiana Jones. And he does pretty good. You can tell it's not Harrison Ford, but the mannerisms and the face, he nailed it. It looks so good. So I'm pretty excited to check this out. But it'll come out this week, and I've already got it reserved. So I just have to wait, I think, 4 more days from the day I'm recording, because I think it's the 17th, I think it's supposed to come out. So I might wait on playing Final Fantasy V and go play that. That might be hopefully fun. I've heard it's not that long because there's a lot of different solving mysteries and puzzles and occasionally having some action. But when I punch somebody, I want that Indiana Jones punch sound.
The big.
Yeah, it's got a specific sound that when you hear it, you know. And we even, by the way, watching movies with my pastor, we watched Willow, and I even noted that when Finn Raziel is punching evil Queen Bavmorda, it's an Indiana Jones punch sound. It's a very certain type. And when I fire Indiana Jones' gun, it better sound like a cannon. Because that's literally what they did for the sound. They've shot a cannon and mixed it with some other stuff. So I want all the sounds. I want the music. I hope it's all in there. And those of you that have gotten to play that, hopefully you've gotten to enjoy it and experience all that. But that is currently what my plan is. But as we move along here, I'm going to go ahead and hit that news button because I'm talking some news.
spanning the Disney and geek universe to bring you the best in comics, toys, movies, and entertainment. This is news from around Neverland.
And I really need to update this because we haven't been the Neverland podcast in years, but I still have the same sounder. But I don't do a whole lot of news so much anymore. And also like I was saying, the trailer park, when I do one, I'm going to put it as bonus episodes. And I haven't really done one in a while, but I feel like I need to because we had CinemaCon a couple of weekends ago and there was so much released out there. Some new little teases for upcoming films that I think I could do a whole episode of talking about that. I just haven't recorded that yet either. But okay, we did have a piece of news. Like I said, they did announce the Nintendo Switch and gave some details about the capacity of the system. It's about 4.5 inches tall, 10.7 inches wide, and about half an inch thick with the Joy-Con 2 controllers, which are electromagnetic, how they're going to attach.
It's really thin.
Well, it's a portable.
Yeah.
That's about as thin as the... if you look at our regular Switch, it's bigger than a Switch.
Okay.
But
well,
it's
maybe it's not as thin as I was thinking it was.
But because I think people were breaking their Joy-Cons with doing little button releases into the slide up. Some people were, I guess, they struggled with it because I thought it's simple to figure out. But, that's the way some people are. This one has more of magnetic. There's still a button to release the magnet, but it has magnets that will hold it in place. And even the Joy-Cons have a little... I'm not sure exactly what you call this thing, but if you turn it on its side and run around, you could work it as a mouse. What has a lot of people wondering if they're going to have finally a Mario Paint 2 because you have a mouse. So you could draw with it and play all the games like on Mario Paint. So, and there might be some other games that's going to use that feature. Nintendo has this habit of, instead of being regular games, they're the ones that brought us the Wii and very strange controllers that are like not really conducive to, when you consider the Super Nintendo was like a great controller. And then when Xbox comes out with their system, Sony comes out with a PlayStation, they kind of took the idea of the Super Nintendo controller and kind of expanded on that idea because hey, that's a pretty good controller. And they're comfortable in hands. Everything's right there. They're just great controllers. And then in Nintendo's, if you look at the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube, they always have a weird controller, and they've, gotten little motion controls. The Wii was a weird controller. The Switch has kind of got weird stuff, although you can get a thing to plug in it to make it more comfortable for those of us used to a PlayStation. So they're always doing weird things with the computer.
With the little trigger. That remote, I don't know, worked better for me, but I don't play.
It is nice to have a trigger, but
it
is definitely a lot more comfortable on a PlayStation that my trigger finger is on my right hand now instead of my left hand like it was on the Nintendo 64.
I don't know. I remember the controller being like underneath, like it was a Z button or something like that. But it was underneath, and I could always hit it with my right hand. It was never a left hand kind of thing. I don't know.
Okay, so the stick in the middle, because you're holding it by the middle, and then there was a trigger right here. That's where GoldenEye would trigger and all this other stuff. All on the left hand.
I played a lot of Mario Go-Kart with that, and I'd always hit it with my right hand.
Heck, Mario Kart used to use just buttons for accelerators. So, but they've always done weird controls. And so, here they are, they're saying, oh, we got a mouse. So they're going to come up with weird things to do with the mouse. There's going to be a lot of other different games, I think, with the mouse. So I don't know if you'd call that innovative or just like trying to break the norms and making it difficult maybe for a lot of third-party companies to create games for you. Although they're trying to now, they're almost caught up with every other system, and they were so excited to have Square Enix announce that the Final Fantasy VII Remake Interlude is finally going to be available for Switch. And everybody was like, wow, that game was 5 years ago, and the Switch is just now getting it. So it's going to be way less than £1, although a little bit more than £1 when you attach the Joy-Con 2 controllers. It's got a touch screen. The screen is about 7.9 inches wide, a color gamut LCD screen. Apparently, they have not been high definition on that screen before. I did not realize that, but when they were talking about it, this was finally going to have a 1920 by 1080, which is standard high definition. While all the other consoles are working their way to 4K, Nintendo's finally got caught up with a high definition screen on of course. Now you could play it on the high definition TV before, but your screen was not a high definition screen on the Switch, which I did not realize until they were talking about this.
It looked pretty good for, not being.
Yeah, it still looks good. Because I guess they're not really having to put that much quality in the games to be high definition. They're not keeping up with the other consoles. How are they competing? I don't know. 256 gigabyte storage, and a portion of this storage is reserved for use by the system. That is a lot less than the PlayStation 5. In an area of terabytes, they give you 256 gigabytes. And of course, the problem with that is apparently you're not just going to use cartridges, but your cartridges are going to copy and download themselves now onto your hard drive. So you're really reducing the amount of room that you have to play your games, to store your games and such, and your saves by doing that and not having that much storage. It's got wireless LAN, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth, and in TV mode, the Nintendo Switch 2 can be connected using a wired LAN port on the dock. That's fine. It's got stereo speakers. We're not that surprised with that. A built-in microphone. They were talking a lot about having a new chat button. So if you hit a button on the Switch, I think it's a C button down there, you can actually open up a chat window. So if you're playing multiplayer, it'll has a little camera. I think it's a separate peripheral. There might be one on the Switch too, but you can now talk and see everybody you're playing with if you're into that kind of thing. If you want to be able to see your people you're playing with. I mean, I don't mind. I only like to play multiplayer with my friends anyway, so I guess I can understand that. Playing Mario Kart, but I don't need to see the faces of everybody I'm playing with on my screen. I don't mind talking to them and being like, haha, you're fast, but I'm faster. Blah, 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 that kind of thing. I could see that on Mario Kart, but I don't need to see their faces on my screen.
I would get distracted anytime I have during the pandemic when we could, talk with people, and it was a lot of, video calling and things like that, especially at my job. Like I'd get distracted by look, there's my face, and I'm distracted by what I look like. I don't know. I don't care for it myself either.
Yeah. There are this time 2 USB-C ports, so one on the bottom like before, and now one on the top. So you could actually, if you needed to charge it while you're playing it, you could actually plug a power cable into the top of the system, so you could still sit it on a desk or whatever if you're doing that and use a controller. So that was a good improvement. Both Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch game cards can be inserted. And you can play a Switch game as long as it's compatible. They haven't really released a list of what all is compatible. They're probably working to make sure they're all compatible. And they have announced the Nintendo Online that was allowing you to play some old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, some Sega games, that kind of thing. They're finally going to have GameCube games available. I don't know why it took them that long. I guess they were just waiting for the Switch 2 to try and encourage people to buy a Switch 2. It's like, oh, you want to play your old GameCube games? Well, I got news for you, Nintendo. I still have my GameCube, and it still works. It is currently hooked up. So we are also, here's the thing, compatible with micro SD express cards only, which can be up to 2 terabytes. So it's a very specific micro SD express cards. How much would I bet Nintendo's going to make a deal with some sort of company that makes the micro cards to get exclusive ones that are going to be Nintendo labeled that's compatible. Micro SD memory cards that are not compatible with micro SD express can only be used to copy screenshots and videos from a Nintendo Switch. So you can't use it to save any, you're not getting any extra storage for your games unless you buy a specific card. I don't like that either. It's got sensors that are accelerometer, gyroscope, and mouse sensor located on the Joy-Con 2 controllers, brightness sensor located in the console, lithium-ion battery, and has a battery life from anywhere from 2 to 6.5 hours. These are rough estimates. It says battery life will depend upon the games you play. It charges up in about 3 hours while the system is in sleep mode. Overall, I am not impressed, if y'all couldn't tell.
No.
And you still play with your Switch. I sometimes still play with my Switch. Since we stopped the online account, I don't really play with it much because I was mainly playing that to play the old games. And I wanted to play Breath of the Wild, and I didn't like Breath of the Wild, so I really didn't want the other one after that.
Well, I will say, because I do play a lot of Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah, and I think the main reason I got it so we could both play Animal Crossings together.
Yeah, without having the internet access, there are quite a few features that I'm noticing that you're not able to access. So, when we had the internet access, I could remodel my villagers' houses, so that they look, to me, feel more like what that villager would like and things like that. Because some of them, especially the early ones, get on your island, you make them furniture and stuff. It doesn't necessarily reflect their personalities and stuff like that. And it's just fun to redecorate and the like. Yeah. With the being able to go to the extension, I forget the name of it, where you go to the little island and you can make vacation homes for people. With that extension, you had access to other types of furniture and stuff. And so you were able to kind of build up a collection of what, furniture that you like, had a little, and it was a larger list of what you could order than there on your island. So that part is definitely taking longer. And I
now
noticed
that you don't have the internet, because it's
playable. It's playable. Don't get me wrong. It's totally playable, and it's still fun. And I'm still being able to create my island the way I want to. I just have to be more patient about certain things.
But see, here's the problem. This is why we don't have the Nintendo Online account anymore. You could only pay yearly. And it's a large sum of money all at once. Now, the reason why I myself pay for my own PlayStation account is because I can pay just a small monthly fee and I get all kinds of features. If I had to pay it once a year, that's a huge chunk of change all at once. Some people can do that. We really can't do that. And I don't know how many of the common people can play as a yearly fee. And Nintendo only gives you that option to pay a yearly fee. They don't give you the option to just pay a little bit monthly. And so, we don't pay for the Nintendo Online anymore. And some people have been concerned because you have to have the internet access for the games. Could you scan your cartridge or whatever and to download some stuff? And people are concerned that you won't be able to do that without paying for their online access. And you're still connected to the internet, and the Switch still updates itself. So I don't know that would be a problem, but I guess people are concerned about Nintendo, how they're kind of money grubbing and stingy that way. These are the same people that their own licensed character games, even a used one that you go to like GameStop, you're going to pay nearly full price, like it's a new game, even though it's like a used cartridge and stuff like that. Nintendo's a piece of work. I'm kind of getting tired of them. I think I've been tired of them. So, but I don't think they're really considering gamers very much. They're in it for profit, of course, but I guess that's part of being a company. But they're not trying to please their gamers. But you do have the Nintendo diehards that were just do or die on their Nintendo, and they love it, and so it's still going to sell, and you're still going to have those people with you. But like the people who just want to be able to play games and have fun, they're probably going to pass on this and continue playing the PlayStations or Xbox.
You can't alienate your customers.
Yeah, and you can't be years behind your competition and expect to compete. But somehow Nintendo does it because they do have popular characters. They have a lot of popular characters.
They do.
But they'll make you pay $80 for it now, because that's Switch 2 games are going to be $80. Even though the Mario Kart World looks like fun, but because I like playing Mario Kart, but I'm not going to buy I think it's, what was the retail price? I can't remember. I think it's going to be like $500 to $600 for a Switch 2, something like that.
Wow.
I don't want to, I spent that much money on a PS5, and I get more for my money on a PS5 than I do for a game, a system that is 5 years behind, that is just now getting the ability to run a PS4 game. And Nintendo, unfortunately, has always been behind, but they have had some quality games that they make. Their Mario games are good, and the Legend of Zelda games, they do make some good stuff. But I'm sorry, you're just not competing, in my opinion. So that's my 2 cents. And now I'm going to hit this button.
Oh, want to see a movie?
Yeah, any good?
It was bad? I'm fuzzy on the whole good-bad thing.
My eyeballs could have been sucked from their sockets.
I like it a lot.
The best movie ever made.
A Fandom Nexus movie review.
Although I should, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you all about Dubby after this. But all right, so I know I hit the movie review button.
But it's not a movie?
It's not exactly a movie. Okay, so we have a story for you. So, I think I first saw it on Facebook that one of our local TV stations, Fox 4, was doing a giveaway to Back to the Future, the musical, here in Kansas City. And I thought, well, hey, that's neat. I'll go ahead and sign up. I said, I'm probably not going to win this, but I'll go and say.
Because we never win anything.
We never win anything. Well, if I'm mentioning this to you, I bet you're all saying, you won tickets? Yes, we won tickets. I got a phone call and my phone said Fox 4. I'm like, I wonder what they're calling me for. Because I was, I work for a different TV station, but I work for one up in St. Joe, although we live here in Kansas City. So I was like, that's odd. Why are they calling me? And I called, oh, hey, you won. And I needed to come pick up the tickets. And I got to talk to the lady who was doing the tickets, because I work a lot with some of our online promotions as well. And I make ads for like our giveaways and our contests up at KQ2. That seems to be most of what I do is that. So it was kind of fun talking to their promotions people. So, but I got tickets. Now, here's the funny thing. So it was April 1st was the day that we were going. So it was the middle of the week. This is funny. So I still had some money left over for after Planet Comic-Con. I tried to be careful that I didn't blow my entire wad of cash for my fun money. And I'm glad I did because I was like, well, I want to buy a souvenir. So when we get into like the second floor, there was where there was like a stand that had all kinds of merchandise and expensive merchandise. So I thought, well, I'm going to be cheap and I'm just going to get some inexpensive stuff. There was like for $20, I got a souvenir program. And because you buy something, I get like $5 off a like reusable bag. And so it was all together about $30 I spent on just some stuff. So, and it's just nice to have something to take home. And I with a souvenir program, I can put my regular program in there. I can stash the tickets in there. So I have souvenirs of that we got to go and do this thing. But all right, so I get in there and you need to go hit the restroom, which was up a couple of flights of stairs, or did you get on the elevator?
I went down. So that was the thing is, so yeah, while he was looking at the merchandise, I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy anything. I'll go see if I can find the bathroom because we got there quite a bit early. So go downstairs, go to the bathroom, come upstairs. I can't find him. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just call him on my cell phone. Looking through my purse, no cell phone. I left it at home on the coffee table. So I was like, well, okay, I'm here. He's got to come. Like our seats are, in this area. I'm going to stand here. He's got to come by. So okay. Stand there.
Let me get into on my half on this now. Because I had looked up online. We were in row K. I looked online, looked at a seating chart. And I looked in like a balcony area and I saw a row K on the balcony area. So I was expecting we'd be up high. So after I bought my stuff, I thought, okay. And a lady had told me, says, oh yeah, so the bathrooms there's some down below, but they're up on the 4th floor. You can take this elevator up there. So I got an elevator. So I'll try to hurry up there. Maybe I'll spot her up there. I'll go hit the restroom. And then I look around for it. And I'm kind of like, well, then they open the doors up. And I said, well, I guess I'll go and I'll find her seat. She'll meet me there at our seat. So I go up there. I don't talk to an usher. I go to row K, I find the thing where our seats, and I sit down there. And I get on my phone, and I'm sending a message like, okay, I'm in our seats whenever you're done. And I'm starting to worry because I figure she's in the bathroom this whole time. I was like, uh-oh, maybe she's not feeling well. Uh-oh. Like, let's hopefully this doesn't wreck our whole evening out. It's, she's sick or something. And then I try to call. And I leave a message because nobody answers. And I thought, well, let me go and go. Maybe she's out here. She didn't get the message because she has a habit of silencing her phone because she's a teacher. I go out and I look on the floor and I leave my stuff up there, my jacket in the seat, and I look around there. I don't see her anywhere on the floor here. Well, that's odd. I thought, well, maybe she went back down to the merchandise table where I was at looking for me. So I go back down the 2nd floor and I'm looking around and I don't see anybody there. I said, well, I better get back up there because I left my jacket and my stuff up there at my seat. I go back and I sit down. All my stuff's still there. I try to call again, nothing. And I'm sitting there like, oh, golly, what happened to her? And then I get a text message.
Can I fill in from there?
Yep. Yeah, pick up your text message.
So I was waiting out there and where we had started from in the 2nd floor for a long time. And actually, while I was standing there, I ended up taking pictures for several people that were like, oh, look, there's a photo op thing. So I ended up being like a little mini photographer for
I wanted to do a photo op with you, but we didn't get to.
Well, I ended up being the photographer for some other people. Anyway, so stood there for a while and I thought, well, I guess I can just go ahead and go in because, he's got a ticket. He's got to come and sit down, at his seat. So it's been a long time since I had been there. So I handed my ticket to the conductor and was, and so they said, oh, well, you're down here and down here, we're okay. And so down on the floor and we keep going and we keep going and we keep going. And like, we ended up being like really close to the stage.
Well, not really close, but close enough. I mean, it was a good seat.
I consider it really close.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I slid into the seat, sat down. And while I'm sitting there, I keep turning around looking like, okay, he's got to be coming. And this lady next to me, she's like, are you here by yourself or are you waiting for someone? And I said, my husband should be coming. And I kind of said, I forgot my phone and the like. And she said, well, do you want to call him or text him on my phone? And I kind of had a moment of like, man, I hate to use somebody else's cell phone because, you don't know how it's set up, or am I using their minutes or whatever. And anyway, so I thought, well, okay, I'll send him a text message. So I did. I sent him a text message and I was like, okay, this is Heather. So because
I have the text message here. Let me go and find this. Let's see here. Yes, from this woman's number. This is Heather. Forgot phone. Am in my seat. Borrowing a phone for a minute.
Yep.
Now I get this message and I'm like, what do you mean she's in a seat? I'm in our seats. And I'm like, okay, well, either I'm in the wrong spot or she's in the wrong spot. So I was like, well, I didn't talk to an usher. Maybe I go and I show my ticket to an usher. I said, okay, so I got the message from my wife that she's in our seats, but I've been up in here. It's like either I'm in the wrong spot or she is. And he goes, oh, you're down there. It's like, oh, because apparently there's a description in there that because like you're up in the balcony. This over here tells you that you're on the floor. I'm like, oh, I didn't know how to read this ticket. So I go back down
more than one row
floor.
K.
Yeah, apparently there's a row K. Yeah.
Multiples.
So it's not like going to a baseball game where you have section, row, and whatever. I guess it had a thing that indicates section, but I didn't understand any of it because it was like CR society. It was like you would if they would have put the full word floor or balcony or something that I would have been able to figure this out. But we got there. Now there was some on-screen entertainment actually going on because they had. They were telling you it's okay to take pictures because they had like this digital screen and it was making kind of weird sciencey noises or whatever. And it was saying that you're allowed to take pictures of the screen, but not if you take pictures during the show, it'll interrupt the space-time continuum,
Yeah. And like cell phones were not invented in 1985. So,
right.
Please silence your phone.
Which in intermission, that same thing popped up that said cell phones were not invented in 1955.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
And they had some other bits of fun with it because when they were starting the show, a countdown clock started, and it looked like the dashboard time displacement in the DeLorean, and it started at our exact date, and it started counting down backwards, and it had all this other stuff going on the screen, and it stopped in October of 1985, back to when the movie takes place. So we actually went back in time to 1985, and then the show started. And so I appreciated all the fun little tech and some of the tech and what they did with the DeLorean was really cool.
This was the most high tech I think I've ever seen or heard of in my life as far as like a play. And
Beauty and the Beast does some neat stuff with the moving stage and doing some stuff.
This one had multiple screens, though. Not only did you have like, the DeLorean and a floor that kind of would move. So it looked like, the DeLorean is rolling, but it's not actually like rolling off of the stage. And you had two screens going.
Turn around and then the screen behind it was, the screen behind it was coordinated to where it would look like it was like going fast down the street.
Yeah. And there's a lady that I work with that I guess they have season tickets to this and they see all these plays all the time. And she agreed that this was probably the most technical thing that she had ever seen as well.
That was so cool.
So, just for the technology and for just the sheer just showmanship of the tech, it was amazing.
Yeah. Now I'm not used to the modern musical that has to fill it with more songs than there is dialogue, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much to where the script of the story kind of got condensed and they combined a few scenes together occasionally to mash it up. There's just so they could fit more songs, which the songs were fun, but nothing. I didn't really feel that many of the songs were memorable to me. I mean, they were good and it was fun. It was like a concert level. I mean, it was fun. It was good stuff. Although our guy who was Doc Brown, his voice, I couldn't quite understand and hear him. He didn't. I don't think he could project as well.
It seemed like he was trying to affect a style of speaking, and it didn't work with the singing part very well.
Yeah.
And anyway, but there was a little bit of that was kind of hard to hear some of his.
He did have a song later, though, that was a quieter song that he sang. That one I understood it because it was quieter.
But he was an older guy, too. So sometimes your faster songs, like a lot of those were faster songs, are harder for older people to sing just because of the pace of it, and that kind of thing.
And they did find a way around some of the odd things that would be hard to do translating from a movie. They found ways around it. They also found ways around not using the term of the planet Vulcan or Darth Vader. They found a way around to still make an acknowledgement of that bit without actually using that scene. And they did a few different twists, kind of a weird twist on the plutonium. And there are no Libyans because they couldn't do the chase there. But they found another way around that to make it where the Doc was in danger. I don't want to say too much because
in case you want to see it.
In case you want to go see it, because I am going to recommend you go see it because it was a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah,
had a great time. The only complaints I would have is Doc was a little, but he's supposed to be a mad scientist. He was a little over the top, but the worst one of all, the guy playing George McFly, I swear he thought he was Jim Carrey with some of the way he would move. He was over exaggerating, and George McFly should be a little awkward. but he was overdoing it. And even when he came back and he's more sophisticated George, because now I'm a successful writer, he was still over the top. And the only thing I did love is he got the laugh in there. I appreciated that. I was like, thank you, because that's one of George McFly's, that's his charm that we had in the original movie, is that laugh. So he did do that, but I mean, overall it's entertaining. That's a minor complaint. I still really had a lot of fun.
The overacting bothered me probably more than it did you, because I think I made the comment like he could have toned it down about 5 levels and still would have been effective, because it caught me off like just right away. Oh, and something else I didn't get to mention. So they had a kind of a neat screen, or if they had some type of technical difficulty about recalibrating the time continuum. So my coworker who went to go on that Sunday, I asked her, I said, you'll have to tell me before she went. I said, you have to tell me if they do that, if that's just, a transition that just happens. Apparently, no, they did not have any technical difficulties. She never saw that screen. So it made me wonder when opening night was, like, if we were opening night.
Yeah, we were opening night.
Okay. So that makes sense then, that there might have been some type of, little kink that needed to be worked out. But it was pretty quick that okay, something technical's going on. Yeah. They dropped a screen, we're recalibrating the space-time continuum, and while it was a little bit distracting for a while, you're like, okay, they fixed it pretty quick.
It was fun having the screen though. So like there's a problem with the space-time continuum. We're having trouble. We'll fix it shortly. But it seemed to be, there was a
American Giant makes great clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, and more right here in the U.S. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com. Code STAPLE20.
Big technical scene that had to come up because it was Marty going back to the clock tower to go back to the future. And I thought, well, maybe something went wrong with the setup, because a lot of moving parts were going on, because Doc was trying to get the cables all plugged in on the clock tower, and you could see that going on. And then they had the DeLorean was going and speeding along, and all this stuff is happening. I'm like, okay, everything has to be precise. So yeah, if they're not sure everything's working right. And I was a little concerned because we had a storm going that was supposed to be coming in, although it didn't hit. But it was supposed to be a bad thunderstorm, and I thought, well, what if lightning hit something, has messed up something?
Yeah, we were inside. There's no way to know what the weather was like outside.
But it turned out to be okay when we got out. But overall, if it comes to your town and this touring show, go see it. The guy playing Marty, I think, was excellent.
He was spot on. And also another coworker, he had said, when I was mentioning that, hey, we're going to go and do this, he did say that the doc is nothing like, the doc from the movie.
It's hard to really replicate.
But he did say that, like, the guy who played Marty was right on it. And I once we saw it, I was like, yeah, right. I mean, he did a very good job of encapsulating the character without imitating Michael J. Fox. Like, he got enough of it in there that it made, this is the character, this is it, without trying to be Michael J. Fox. Yeah. Well, I was very impressed with him.
And even Doc Brown, he wasn't trying to be Christopher Lloyd. Not at all. He was trying to be the eccentric, over-the-top doctor, and it still worked. So I appreciate that they were playing the character. So overall, Doc, he was a little over the top, but it kind of fit for the character. So the only time it didn't fit was like George McFly should not have been that over the top. But I liked the Doc again. They found ways to make some extra jokes. They had it an extra scene and song when you come out of intermission, where Doc is having a dream and he's dreaming about how great the future is going to be. And at one point he talks to Marty. He's like, and imagine in 2020 we'll eliminate all diseases.
Yeah. Which they had a little bit of, yeah.
Which it was funny though. I appreciate it. And also knowing that that's a joke that's probably added later, because I remember first hearing about this debuting in London while I was still working at the radio station. It was before COVID. So they, of course, with a live show, sometimes they add extra jokes and everything. And that what it is funny. It's like the future did not turn out at all like anybody ever planned it or envisioned it in 2020. Who could have seen that coming? So, but yeah, if it comes to your town, go. You will have a blast. It's great for you. Bring the whole family along, have a good time. There was some mild language, but there's not even as much language as the movie. They even got away around when this baby hits 88 miles an hour. You can see some serious shift. He says shift. Like the gear shift. So I thought, that's a good way to get around it, where they don't drop any words. So it's like, people are going to bring their kids. They want to have a good time. And maybe we don't cuss, but, they still had words for your backside or a donkey. I think that popped up a couple of times. I wish they could have done a little bit more with Biff and some of his funny lines. Like, I think they did get at least with one, make like a tree and get out of here. They got him in there once.
That was at the end.
Yeah.
The end screen when it was time to go. It was like,
but no, he did say it at least once.
yeah, but I mean, like on the screen for everybody to leave.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did do
It
that.
was funny. Now make like a tree and get out of here. But they could have had a lot more fun with Biff, I think. Because Tom Wilson was so funny as Biff. He was so menacing and horrible. But Tom Wilson is just naturally, he's a very charming and funny guy, really, in real life. That he brought a little bit of that charm to make Biff an enjoyable villain and a bully. And you still you hate that guy's guts, but you're totally entertained by him, and he's still funny. You want the bad things to happen to him when he gets hit with manure. You laugh at him, but his lines are still funny with the things he messes up. So,
and their Biff was good too. I thought he did.
He was a good Biff. I just wish they could have given him a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah, just a little bit more of some of the fun stuff that we know Biff for. Like, I mean, he did get to call somebody a butthead. So that was kind of the thing. But yeah, definitely go. But we've been talking about this for about 40 minutes, and I'm going to take a quick moment here to talk about Dubby. If you go to neverlandpodcast.com, jump over, you'll see a big Dubby logo. If you click that saves you a lot of time. Otherwise, you can go to dubby.gg, use the discount code Neverland, and you get a discount off of, well, hey, wait a minute, what are they selling at Dubby? Well, if you happen to be a gamer and you need some extra energy, want something to drink that's not going to give you the jitters and be loaded with caffeine, Dubby has all kinds of different flavors with vitamins and good things for you, good things for the body to give you some energy so you can keep on gaming. And that is Dubby.gg, or heck, go and just neverlandpodcast.com. I've got a link for you. I get a little bit of a kickback when you do it, and I appreciate everyone who goes and shops at Dubby through that link. But now I want to toss it over to myself. You're going to notice a change in sound quality because we were using lapel mics over at Philip is currently recovering from his second knee surgery. He's gotten both knees done now, so hopefully he's going to recover and be getting around much better now. But we were in a basement type of area, and so the sound quality is differently. I've done what I can to kind of fix some of the sound, but you're going to notice the difference as we go over there. But over to me as we discuss the late, great Val Kilmer. Okay, so at this part of the show, you'll notice like probably the microphones now are different that I'm using. We're actually sitting, for those of you who are fans of the Fandom Nexus that have not yet moved over to start listening to watching movies with my pastor, we're actually about to watch Willow for that podcast, so make sure you tune into that this week as well. But I had to sit here with Philip to talk about Val Kilmer, having that he just passed away this week, and I did have some notes about his life, which I'll probably maybe share at a different portion of the show just to kind of get it through there. But at least we could talk about some memories we have of watching his different films. And, of course, you've got his biography there on the wall.
Yes, I purchased that. Most of y'all don't know this if you don't know me. But, I'm known as Lost Boy Phil.
Yep.
And
Kryptonian.
Yeah, the Kryptonian.
Kryptonian.
Kryptonian and Lost Boy Phil went through an awful lot a few years ago. In 1 year, this 2019, I went through 4 brain surgeries. And also, at the time, I ended up being kicked out of the home that I was in because at the time I was married, and my wife decided no longer to be married to me. So while I was going through all that,
we're putting it nicely.
Yeah, so
we don't need details.
Going through all that, I had decided I was going to start anew. And while doing so, I was going to decorate using a lot of collectibles and things that I have had for years, some being toys from my childhood, some being new collectible toys and models and other things, to basically show every section that I have on my walls and other things. Not all taken up yet, they will be, but it's basically show, much like my father did, show memories of your life.
Yeah.
It's like a memorial in a way. It's like every time I look up, I see memories and I'm reliving them. Well, so I started
all alone in the moonlight.
That's right. So I started in one corner, and one corner Funko Pop had brought out these Funko Pops of Tombstone, and which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And I had bought a picture that has it's a copy of all the signatures of every star from the movie. But at the same time, Val Kilmer was bringing out a book, and you could buy the book, which I did, but you could do that, or you could spend, I think it was an extra $50, I can't remember. But it was an extra amount of money to have him literally sign it. Nice. And I did. I had him sign the inside of it because, I wanted it.
Yeah.
To know that I literally had, because I love Val, and I read it the moment it came in. But that corner I call Val Kilmer corner because that is the corner where I basically started my life over again. And I know, especially when reading that book, he had to start his life over again. Everything had started to go awry because of the throat cancer that he suffered from, and something went wrong during the surgery. And in doing so, it took his voice. And I suggest for any of you who have Prime, that is Amazon Prime, and you who have the channel Prime, to watch a very good documentary film called Val, V-A-L, Val.
And one of his kids put that together, didn't they?
Well, him and his son mostly. His son, all of a sudden his name just slipped me. I don't know why. But they put that all together. And Val was a very unique, interesting, tremendously talented man. He got a video camera when they were brand new. Talking about video cameras in the 1980s were brand new, where you could go around recording. And because the cameras you could get before that, you could not record the sound or anything. It was just the
old what was it, 8mm? 8mm, yeah.
So he was able to get that, and they were expensive back then.
Yeah.
And he got it, and he started recording. So he would record on the set of every film he did.
Yeah.
One of the things I love in that documentary, he goes in. I can't remember if it was his grandma, his mom, or his aunt. One of them go, "So are you recording our voices on that too?" And he said, "Yes." And they go, "Oh," like they were shocked. You know, I thought that's so cute. And it shows the age and the time of all of us, you know, who were around for that time. But you know, kids nowadays wouldn't understand that. To them, that's just normal.
They're used to. Now they got a thing in their pocket that
your phone can get it all.
Yeah.
But back then, that was extremely special. I remember my grandma; she had one of those 8mm.
And then my grandma had one too.
Yeah, and then she switched over.
I wonder what happened to those film strips.
When she got the actual camera, I remember it was a gold camera, and which my cousin Paul still has that camera. But she bought that big tape. It was a huge camcorder, and it cost her a lot. But she would record everything. We'd make movies and everything else.
Yeah, I've seen some of your movies.
Oh yeah, they're corny, but they're fun.
Thanksgiving Day, the horror movie.
Oh yeah, it was. And then they made one later called Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, now they've got one that just came out this past year, didn't they?
So it's unique that you could, back then, he had one, and he would go to each film recording things. So it's great about this movie. If you have a chance to see it. You get to see really awesome things. It's like watching back scenes of Top Gun and Tombstone. It's really great because you're seeing these characters of Tombstone. They got their mustaches and all this stuff, and yet they're wearing clothes from 1992. They're like wearing like this neon tank top and all this stuff, and yet the guy's got the mustache from the 1800s. It's hilarious. But Val was a great guy. Yeah. He was extremely talented. It showed him preparing for The Doors, for instance, where he's playing.
And I haven't seen that movie. I've been told I should watch it.
It's really good. It's ornery, we'll say, in certain areas. I mean, it has to be. But
it's Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison.
I mean, goodness.
But what he would do for a year of his life, he would listen to Jim Morrison speak and, of course, sing and all these things, and he became him. He grew his hair long. He would not just say the line. He would say it again and again and again. So this is how he said it. He was quoting someone, I don't remember who. But basically what you do is you don't play the character plays you. To where basically you do it so often to where it just becomes like a natural reaction.
Yeah. You're trying to embody it so much you need to become that character.
Amen. You know? Exactly. And I don't want to get it wrong. I know there are different types of actors.
Character actors. Like Val Kilmer was a character actor.
Yes.
Because there's somebody who will completely embody character. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'll be very different from myself most of the time when I've done stuff on stage. And then you have a character type, which is like your John Waynes, your Clint Eastwoods. Yes. They're a type of character, and you cast them to be that type of person.
Because they're so good. Or sometimes they'll character type the person because they did that role so well. They want to basically play.
Well, mainly they did that role so well because they kind of do it naturally. And the main thing with standard acting is you're just trying to make someone believe you.
Yeah, and they are
believing. And then so acting is basically just making somebody believe you when you say a line that you believe what I'm saying.
And then what's the method actor?
Having the emotion. Method actor is they're afraid to even break character in between.
Yes.
That would be your Christopher Reeve. He was a method actor. Once he's embodied Superman, he would have problems with Margot Kidder when she'd clown with him. She's like, "Don't you ever stay in character?"
He's afraid he won't go back in.
But it's that Juilliard method. Him and Val Kilmer both were at Juilliard. Didn't they even know each other back in school?
They did. They met.
Juilliard?
And the other thing, another one who's so deep into it is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes, Daniel Day-Lewis. He would
good.
not answer his own name even. Which Jim Carrey tried to do that when he was playing Andy Kaufman. He wanted so bad to make sure, so he made sure everybody just called him Andy on set. It's like, I'm not Jim, I'm Andy. And he did not lose character. And I mean, my method with character acting is a lot of times when you'll notice this Val Kilmer, like the way that he talks will be different. And he studied a lot of, I was watching actually a thing this week how he was studying the aristocratic Southern accent for Doc Holliday to make sure he sounded right. And he said, I need to find somebody that talks that way so I can study that. And I'll do the same thing. Every character I've played, as I got a more mature actor on stage, had a different kind of voice, a different way that I would speak. And when I was even playing, basically playing a villain, I was King Herod or whatever, I think it was King Herod at a church show. I figured in order to do this, I'm just going to make myself as mad as I can backstage. So I came out there angry. But I was like, because I'm like, this is a guy who's very upset. And I had to be able to who always in the state of anger that no matter what I did, there was this menace that I managed to get because I was mad. And I did it so well that like back when I was out at the church, this is not our church, it's a different church, by the way. I had a parent who brought their kid over to me to say, no, see, look, Jeremy is very nice. He was just acting.
That's awesome.
But that's the thing. Is part of acting is you have to have the emotions. The emotions have to be there.
Otherwise, it's fakey.
And it's possible some people can fake emotion, but I can't fake an emotion because I'm a character actor. I have to feel it.
Yeah, I understand.
And so that's what Val Kilmer good. He could embody, and he'd have a different manner of speech, the way he would carry himself, and then he would make sure the emotions were real. And the people who can cry on camera, they have to feel every emotion of it. And they're amazing actors when they can do that.
That's why it's hard that they have to keep redoing that role. I mean, that scene.
Keep doing that scene.
Again
it's rough on them when they have to cry.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the difference between I'm an actor and I can just be, this is the way I play it, but I make you believe it, like Clint Eastwood, John Wayne. All your big top stars, usually the character types are going to be your top billed stars. The character actor is usually in that supporting role because you need somebody to be more believable.
Basically,
but
they
don't
around
always
him.
think it. Which never denigrate the supporting roles. The supporting roles are sometimes some of the most interesting characters that help. That they're not usually the main star, but you look at Val Kilmer. Other than playing Batman and being Jim Morrison, most of the time he was a supporting character, but sometimes he could steal the show as his supporting role. Because in Willow, he's Mad Mardigan, which is the first one that I really knew him in. Iceman and Top Gun, he was great in that.
And he almost didn't take that role.
And in Tombstone, Doc Holliday, he's not the lead character, but he kind of steals the show.
He stole the show. And
he did.
Here's what happened with that movie. Not that that's what we're here to talk about, but with that movie, that wasn't exactly how the movie was going to turn out eventually, but originally. But the director, he dropped out, and then the other director was not good.
And then in between, Kurt Russell, man. Kurt Russell was
awesome. Basically the director. The director didn't take the credit. It was Kurt Russell.
Yeah. And Val Kilmer is talking him up too. It's like, we couldn't have done this without Kurt. Kurt's amazing.
I love Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
And him and Val together, they basically made the film about a brother-hood.
Oh, and it was much.
It was so doggone good. It is one of the best movies I think ever made. And poor Kevin Costner, who I love, but his movie
came out.
He didn't have a chance. It's good. It's just not.
It's not
great.
as good as Tombstone.
No, and they both have factuality and infactuality, which is to say they're both good and they both have things that are true and not true. But Tombstone's more factual than not. But
and stuff
good.
That's unbelievable. You wouldn't think.
I know.
Real.
And
that's amazing.
The
movie.
Music is amazing, and the same guy who did the music for Tombstone did the music for Rescuers Down Under, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Which is also great music.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of all this is to say that Val in that movie just you're a daisy if you do. I mean, he's so doggone good. There's nothing more I could say about Val except to say that in every film I've seen him do, he said one of his least favorite films that he ever did was Batman. Not because it was a bad movie.
They didn't give him much to do to really.
And they should have.
Because he wants some character stuff to do.
But I got to say about him, about Batman.
I could believe him being Batman.
I loved him as Batman. I think he was the best Bruce Wayne. And because the way he acted.
He had that conflicted. Michael Keaton, I like that they cast him because Michael Keaton has that inner crazy that he could bring out.
But one thing I loved about Val, which some people maybe didn't catch, but I'm a very visual man. I caught Val acting like Michael, like his lips even. There's times where he'd go and put it, you can't see anyone's what, but his lips would come together, he would perch, He
was trying to make sure he's being Michael Keaton-ish.
Which
Bruce Wayne.
because he was taking over Michael Keaton.
That's interesting.
Now George did not do that. Which is not his fault.
George was just being George.
Which is not really his fault. He was told this to be you.
Yeah, and that's
because Joel Schumacher was an idiot when it came to those films. He was great in other films, Falling Down on others, great. But those movies, he did not do a good job. But I will say, in Batman Forever at least, Val did his best, and I love. He talked about. I don't know why so many times he said this. Way he said in his film about Val. He said so many times he put his hand to his hips. It just kept happening, and I was like, "But that's natural.
Yeah, it's natural because you're Batman.
Because you're Batman.
Because I'm Batman. Because I'm Batman.
When he goes, I can stop you. He says to,
I can stop you.
And his hands go. He was good in that role.
Yeah,
he was really good, and I loved it. I still love that movie. I don't love it like I do the first movie.
Yeah,
I even like it better than the second one, to be honest with you. Batman Returns was.
I kind of do.
Batman Returns was too much in certain areas.
It's too much.
But I still love it.
There's things I like about it at least.
Let's just say this: I like Batman Returns. I really, really like Batman Forever. Batman and Robin, we won't talk too much, but I like things about it.
First Batman.
I adore Batman 1989.
Right, sir.
Anyway, when it comes back to Val Kilmer, first thing I remember seeing him in was Top Secret. We went out to the movies in 1984 and saw that. It was a cornball, goofy comedy, and it's basically making fun of 1940s, 50s movies where all of a sudden he becomes like Elvis in it. It's almost, he becomes like an Elvis movie where he's singing like Elvis and all. And
then he later played Elvis, didn't he?
I don't know.
I know Kurt Russell did, but didn't Val Kilmer? I thought I was reading that somewhere. That Val Kilmer briefly was Elvis in something.
I can't remember.
Have to look it up again, though.
I can't remember, but I do know that
someone can yell at me through their phone.
I felt bad for him because he trained to do all this guitar playing and all, and then when it came time to do it, they wanted him to lip sync and all this. So it was like, but it was a different kind of a film. It was very odd, but I know that was the first thing I knew of him from.
Yeah.
And then I did not see Real Genius till later, but he did that around the same time.
And then The Saint, though, really got to show off his different abilities of embodied characters. The Saint was so good.
That's why he didn't get to do Batman and Robin, by the way, because he already promised.
Well, good for him, because The Saint was a better movie.
A lot better. Not just that. The other reason why they dropped him was he had already had a commitment, and two, he said, "I'd like to talk about the script. There's things he didn't like about it," and they were not concerned about making a good movie. They wanted it out right away.
Yeah, they were about money and not about making a good movie.
That was what it was. It was
big
about
time
profit, not about purity, so to speak.
Not that we don't see that happening now.
No.
Star Wars.
Any others? So
no, just everything Disney's touching and wrecking right now.
Yeah, they're
remaking everything, and we could go off on that, but I won't.
Cow, yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, Val also did a voice of Moses.
Yes.
And in turn,
and he was pretty good.
And in turn, even though there's a lot of things,
Prince of Egypt, by the way.
Prince of Egypt. Yeah, one called Moses.
Yeah.
It's called Prince of Egypt. And even though I was just telling Jeremy, I just watched it last night. There's a lot. I'm a pastor. So there's a lot of things about it that I don't like. What's funny, when it came out, I didn't catch all this because I was 22. And
it was a long time ago. Yeah.
And I'll give it a thumb sideways because
as a movie, it's good. As biblical values,
thumbs down. Artistically, talking about art and music, thumbs up.
And well made.
But I'm going to go thumb sideways. But as far as cast goes, amazing cast.
Great casting.
Val did great. Whoever sang for him, because it wasn't him.
Yeah.
But it sounds so much like Val that is beautiful, well done. And he did a great job. Not only was he Moses, he was God. He was the voice
because
of God.
They wanted to make us like, well, normally when you hear God, sometimes you almost hear it in your own thoughts, in your own head, God speaking.
It was, and in that turn, I'm going to get biblical for a minute. In that turn, pre-incarnate Christ was the burning bush.
Right. Oh, yeah. So deep topic there.
Yeah. So therefore, in a way, he was the voice of Jesus too.
People. Yeah.
He's the voice of Jesus in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they did such a good job when he does the voice of Moses there. And I thought he did a great job.
Yeah,
I was really impressed.
Yep. And one final thing is I want to wrap up. This is something I've had some thinking about my life, and I was like trying to figure out what I'm doing with myself sometimes. But I was watching on YouTube, like different it's personality types, because you hear about the alpha male, the beta male, and now kids are all about sigma or whatever, and they don't even understand what it is. But this video was kind of breaking those down of what those are.
And so if you look in the position where there's the alpha who basically have to take a leadership role, they have to look out for everybody, but they have to consider everybody. And then the beta is that person who can back up and make sure the alpha can do the job because the beta is there doing what they need to do in the support role. And I've looked at us. Dude, you're Wyatt Earp, and I'm Doc Holliday. I'm a weird kind of eccentric guy because what am I doing to the church? I'm doing stuff to help the church to make sure you can do what you do. And I realized, oh my gosh, I've been doing this just trying to help you along. And I remember even there's a conversation we had one time because I didn't feel like I was fulfilling the purpose and everything. That. And you were telling me, it's like, dude, if you hadn't just been there when I've needed you, it's like, that's what I do. You are called the pastor, and I've always known it, and we've talked about it.
I don't know if I'd be here if it weren't for people like you, Seth, others, because you're my Huckleberry.
Yeah, I am your Huckleberry. I am your Doc Holliday, and you're my Wyatt Earp.
Thank you.
You are, because even though you've got the you're going to do the right thing. You're Wyatt Earp. It's like, this is the right thing to do, and I'm going to do it, and doggone it, I'm going to get it right. And you're also, because that pastor, part of that alpha male is looking after other people. You have to care about the people you're leading, and as a pastor, that is like a number one thing. And I've become that, some people would call it a sidekick role, but I do stuff to make sure you can do your job.
And the problem is,
I realized, oh my gosh, we are totally Wyatt Earp.
The problem is the way the world looks at it. They take alpha as being in control and take over,
but it's not control. It's a good leader,
and they take beta as being one who's weak and one who gets their steps on.
But it's not what it is.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
It's somebody who can lift people up, and I didn't realize how much I was doing this until and I just aired this last episode of the Fandom Nexus. I got to sit down with Adrian Ropp, who's a great guy anyway. But I find myself encouraging him and telling him why I was so proud of him of what he's done. I was like, it's very natural for me when and I don't know if it's always needed, but sometimes I find myself saying like lifting people up. And that's like, it comes natural. It's like, oh wow, God really made me to somebody. I am Barnabas. I am an encourager. And I did not realize that that's really what I did. It just kind of comes natural because that's what God made me to be. And so I think it's also me being a character actor when I get to do stuff. It's like, because I'm not meant to be the star of the show, but the star of the show can't shine unless I'm there backing them up and encouraging them to keep going and providing what they need.
Alpha
Isn't that cool?
is the first letter of the alphabet in the Greek.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Beta second. The only reason why I remember all this, my dad, he took Greek and was, whenever my nephew Connor was a baby, one of the first things he learned, and he didn't hardly know how to speak yet, and he learned really early. But my dad taught him alpha, beta, gamma, delta. And he was just a bitty baby. And he would, just a little bitty, he'd say, hi, Papa. And he'd go, alpha, beta, gamma, delta. And it's just a little baby. And he was saying cute. That. It is real cute. But I remember that because Dad used to say, you have to know, in other words, you can't put a sentence together, a word together, let alone a sentence, if you don't have all the letters together. And that's what I'm saying about the alpha and the beta.
Yeah.
You have to have it all. Back to Val Kilmer for just a minute.
But it's also the members of the body. We all need each other.
That's it.
We're members of the body.
Back to Val for a second. Val was so good in his films that one of the films that he did that I didn't know was expected. Originally, it was going to be a Tom Cruise film, but he turned it down. It was written for him. Ended up being such a good film. A true story, by the way, and that's Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, I remember watching it. Oh, that was scary.
Oh, yeah, true story.
Scary.
True, all the way.
True story.
And you can. It's about two lions that were in Africa in the early 1900s, late 1800s. And this is, you can see those lions. They're in Chicago, the Field Museum.
Oh yeah.
Now the only difference in the reality and in what they did in the film was they don't have a mane. The real ones didn't have a mane. So the reason why they added them in the film is, and this is the truth, because when we see lions without a mane, we think of female lions.
Yeah. But the female lions are fierce. They're the hunters.
They are. But these lions, they just naturally don't have mane.
Yeah.
But
and plus males, they'll shed their mane when it's not time. Kind of like a deer will shed their antlers.
But my dad had told me about these lions before. He said when he went to the Chicago Field Museum that there's these two lions that just looked so angry. Of course, they're posed that way, but they looked angry and mean. And then he read what it was about. So then we went to see the movie. He'd forgotten about that. And then he was like, "Oh, wait." He said, he leaned over to me and goes, "Wait. This is about those lines I was telling you about in Chicago." So our plan, we never got to do it because we had a guy, remember Richard Guyman?
Richard Guyman.
He was supposed to set it up for us. He never got to, but we were all going to go on a trip there to see him, but we never got to do it. But we went and saw that movie, and that movie was so good. And Val did an amazing job. And another one in that movie who did a great job was Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
That's a good...
Well, he's a good actor.
That's a good film.
Yeah. I remember watching it once, but oh my gosh, it was terrifying.
Oh yeah,
because them lions come out of nowhere.
Oh,
man. Oh,
terrifying! I had nightmares, literal nightmares about it.
Like that one, and the one with Anthony Hopkins and that bear. Golly,
they came out around the same time.
Yeah,
one came out in '96. That was Ghost in the Darkness, and then The Edge came out in '97.
And what? No, that wasn't Val Kilmer and with Anthony Hopkins. Who was that with Anthony Hopkins?
That was Alec Baldwin.
Right. Yeah. And I only watched that one once. So that movie.
That's
I
own both films. They're so great. They're so great.
Oof.
They're good. It goes because tonight we're going to kill the blah blah blah. I won't say it. But
I do want to finish this out for those because I want to encourage you people who are the encouragers and maybe you're not realizing this about yourself. There's one of my favorite little bits actually in Tombstone. And this is why it's kind of part of what I do for myself when it's like, Doc, you ought to be in bed. And he says, Wyatt Earp's my friend.
That's right.
That's the loyalty thing. But I love the follow-up to it. It's like, well, I got lots of friends. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Also,
I get chills
even
now
on Willow.
Of it.
Even on Willow, he backs up Willow at the end where everyone else won't. Remember, he backs up.
Yes, because Willow is his friend.
That's right.
It's like and so if you find yourself that's the thing where it's because there's a loyalty that goes on with being the beta that you are going to be, and I'm excessively loyal. So when somebody breaks my trust, it hurts.
Oh yeah.
But once you've broken the trust, believe me, you ain't getting it back.
I'm the same way though. Yeah. As far as I will not, even when they hurt me, I love them. I'll always love them. I may not trust them all the same, but I'll still love them.
Yeah.
And you won't take that away.
Yeah. I'm also though there's a bit of a loyalty where because there's times where you've done stuff and I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna work out for you. And I'm being nervous about it, but like I gotta let you do what you want to do. Yeah. But I'm like, there's times I'm like, okay, I gotta back and let you do it, and I'm gonna be there when the fallout happens. And then there's been some fallout because there's times because I had my concerns about Amanda. I had concerns even about the last one, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just sit there and I'm gonna watch, but I might need to be there for when the fallout happens. Just make sure I'm there.
Well, sometimes in life, if you don't take a chance.
Yeah.
To quote Braveheart here, you know what happens if you don't try? What? Nothing.
You don't succeed.
It goes nothing.
Nothing. Did I ever hit the record button? Okay, yeah. I just had that thought, like, man, we've been going for a while. I hope I got this all in recording.
Yeah, if you don't try, nothing happens, and that's not always good.
There's actually good. Christian band that doesn't exist anymore. GS Megaphone stood for God-sized megaphone. Where they have a song talks about when a ship is most safest when it's docked. But that's also where it's the most useless.
Oh, yeah.
So it's got to face the dangers of being out in the open sea.
Well, people oftentimes talk about Peter, Cephas, Peter, Simon Peter. They talk about, well, he sank because he lost faith. He took his eyes off God. Yeah, well, guess what? He also stepped out of the boat. No one else did.
There you go. He had the courage.
He had the faith in the first place where no one else had.
And if you're going to holler at Peter for his failures, you better look at your own failures.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
We all fail. But Jesus is right there to bring us back.
That's right.
All the time.
That's exactly right.
Well, I meant to wrap this up a while ago.
Go right ahead, bro.
So let's wrap this up.
I will say one more thing.
Okay.
My viewpoint when I was young, when I was very young, let's say early 90s, I had very big hope for a G.I. Joe movie before they threw it down the toilet. But
why did they?
My hope was back then, I kept thinking, man, I really wish, and part of this was because I saw the movie Stargate. And I kept thinking, man, I would love if they made a really good G.I. Joe movie. And
with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer?
No, Val Kilmer wasn't in it. But I kept thinking, the way Kurt Russell looked in that film, I kept thinking, I would love if they made a G.I. Joe movie, and Kurt Russell would be Hawkeye. I mean, Hawk. I'm going to say
General Hawk.
General Hawk.
And, I was thinking him as Flint.
And I was thinking who'd be great Duke would be Val Kilmer.
Yeah. See, I would go Duke and Flint and have Kurt Russell.
Flint, I can't remember who
he had that beret in the Stargate.
But I can't remember who it was. I thought it would be a great Flint at the time. It was someone who had darker hair, but I can't remember who right now. But it was gotta remember it was early 90s. You know what? I think it might have been George Clooney at the time because I was watching him.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was like
now.
a year or two later. I was thinking George Clooney because I was watching ER.
Yeah.
And but I remember thinking these people would be really good in G.I. Joe, and I still think that would have been a really good call at the time. That I would have loved that. And because this is the early 90s, Jean-Claude Van Damme is Snake Eyes.
Right now, I think Jason Statham could be interesting as Snake Eyes, too.
Yeah, well, I just think that would have been a movie that would have been a lot of fun at the time.
If only they'd done it.
If only they had known.
If only they had known what they would make later. Okay, but I'm going to pass it back to me in the studio.
All right, so hopefully you've had some fun talking about Val Kilmer.
We now want to thank everybody. Of course, Karen Kennedy, Ricky Pope of Christian Nerds Unite, and Darren Wilhite of the Will Height and Wall Show. They helped me out with the introduction. Make sure you go to neverlandpodcast.com, and hey, you'll see links even there for Podgagement. That is Daniel J. Lewis, the award-winning podcaster, Daniel J. Lewis, I should say, and his fantastic program. If you happen to be a podcaster, you want to be able to get your reviews from all around the world, and a lot of other really cool features. Podgagement right there. Use my link in there and I get a little kickback there, and you can get reviews, which, hey, if you have not left a review for the show, what are you waiting for? Leave me a review. Let everybody know what you think of the show, and I will share that on the show as well. Don't forget, of course, the ads that popped up in the middle of the show, at the beginning and the end and the middle. If you don't want to hear those extra ads other than me talking about stuff, you can become an exclusive member at Red Circle, where I don't plug those ads in, or become a patron at patreon.com/Neverland. What is it? Neverland PCast. I gotta look. Where's my link? Yeah, Neverland Podcast at Patreon. I got links to all the Neverland Podcast page. You can become a patron member, and you'll get all kinds of bonus episodes, video, and things like that for all the different episodes. Plus, you'll get exclusive versions of Watching Movies with My Pastor, where I have the watch-along versions that I put on the Patreon as well. So lots of fun bonuses over there. I am going to also mention, well, real quick though, we do have x.com/NeverlandPcast. We're on Facebook as the Fandom Nexus, and also the Facebook group, though, which is a little bit more interactive, is under Neverland Podcast still. You can also email us, podcast at Neverland Podcast. Tell us if you have a favorite movie from Val Kilmer, or have you gone to the Back to the Future musical? There's actually people I know that have actually got to see it in Kansas City. There was even a Back to the Future fan group that I had a random post pop up where somebody said that they got to see it here in Kansas City as well, and they took some photos. Of course, you can only do photos like sharing the screen at the beginning, which I did share some of those photos as well. But I also like to now say no copyright infringement is intended, and copyright is held by the respective owners. Content is shared for review and commentary purposes under fair use license. Just in case there's any audio I've used in the show to illustrate a point with Val Kilmer, which I don't believe I did. But I'm just going to put that in there because I had some problems. I had problems with Watching Movies with My Pastor with that kind of a thing, because we were doing commentary clearly, and that would be covered under a fair use, but I wasn't doing everything properly, and so I've had some issues there with YouTube. So, but that wraps up everything, and so now the only thing to say is to get lost in an adventure. We'll see you next time.